Why are Canadians so focused on irrelevant aspects of my business? I get that question a lot. Click here the subscribe button, set up the alert. If the content of this video is useful, let us know by clicking the like button. So this is the situation that we see a lot, right? People ask, why the focus is on things that are not important? What do people mean by that in very specific examples? Let's take, for example, packaging or user interface if it's a software. So some people believe, right, that the content of the product that's being delivered should be way more important than the packaging that is coming. And if somebody is just complaining that the packaging is not up to whatever standard they want, they say, well, come on, but do they understand how much better my product is? Can't they see that my software is actually doing a much better job at what they need? And all they care about is like some user interface that it's a bit prettier, but actually that prettier software is not delivering the same results. So people seem to believe sometimes, business owners, that what the solution that you're selling should be the most powerful proposition. And when the other side is not seeing that, they're not focusing on what's more important, right? The other thing too that I hear about this packaging or user interface is that people have this very strong belief that nobody else sells something as good as what I am offering. Yeah, so what? Big deal that is not within the prettiest package or the most functional package. But look at the content. Look at the content, how much better it is, right? Don't worry about it. We can figure out and get all this fluff they want. You know, if they want a prettier package, it's okay, we can do. Or if they want some different user interface, yeah, we can do. So this is how the reasoning typically goes. Yeah, let's get a commitment from the client first. They say, yeah, sure, I'm gonna buy this amount. Well, if they commit, I can do whatever changes they want, right? They say, let them commit first, then we will adapt, versus an understanding that, well, hang on a second, I have to adapt first so they commit, right? And then you come back full circle to the rationale saying like, I will not incur unnecessary cost without a commitment from their part. And then we stay in this chicken and egg situation where nothing gets solved and people get frustrated that the buyer is not being reasonable with and is focusing on the wrong things. It's like, okay, go and commit, and then I'll make all whatever necessary adjustments. And it all stems from that thinking, that belief, very strong belief, that the content or what I sell is much superior. And then there's not possibly other reasons why people would be making a fuss of not buying my stuff just because it's not coming with a package or with a user interface that is more attractive. So that's kind of a bit of a complicated situation here, right? So the first one then is like this packaging or user interface issue, which is what's around, not the core, seems to be where people are focusing. The other thing we see a lot is that the feeling that whoever is on the buyer side is being too bureaucratic and just trying to tick some boxes. Say like, come on, you know, let them commit first and understand that we're great and they're buying that. And then we can adapt later to all these things. But why don't they just sign the contract and then we go and we will make sure all these other 6, 7, 8 items in their list are ticked. So again, people, the sellers, are under the expectation that the commitment should come first and not after all the boxes are ticked. And then what we see is unfruitful attempts, like people are spending time and energy trying to arm wrestle the other side, trying to convince the other side that they should be buying. In other words, people want the commitment before they adapt and make any changes that are being requested, especially when we believe that what we sell is so superior that people are just making a fuss. We don't understand why they are focusing on things that are so irrelevant. That's the topic of this video, why people are focusing on irrelevant things. And a lot of companies have this belief, oh, we are great at solving problems, we are very resourceful, of course we can adapt the packaging or the user interface or tick the missing boxes in whatever list they have. As long as they give me the commitment, I can go and I'll figure out that stuff. So here's the problem with this approach though. It becomes a fight for what's more important. It's like the client is telling me that they need a package, they need a user interface, or they need all these 6-10 items in a box, in a list, before they can proceed with me. And I'm trying to convince them that they are wrong. No. Focus on my quality here, whatever, because I'm so much superior to everything else. So what happens is that we are breeding disagreement and we are increasing resistance on the other side. And what ends up causing on the other side, on the buyer side, is that they start to get doubts, and even more doubts. They're like, oh my God, these guys are being so tough to deal with, and they're not even our suppliers yet. Imagine what's going to happen when they have an actual problem to deal with. And then we turn off people, and they disappear, and they don't want to talk to us anymore. Even though we believe that we have the best product, the best service, the best software, whatever it may be, and we blame it on them. We blame it on the client and say, you know what, I was talking to the wrong buyer. They don't understand, or they really didn't want, they were making a big fuss. They're too bureaucratic. They're just box stickers, or they're just focusing on what's not relevant. Again, that belief that people are focusing on irrelevant aspects of my business or of my value proposition. Sounds complicated? It's not too complicated, okay? We have our platform here, Your Business in Canada. Come on board and we can help you walk this process, and you're gonna do that together with a group of other people building their success in Canada. So let's look specifically then what's happening here in terms of these requests that we consider irrelevant and how we can go around it so we actually can make the sales and can proceed with success in Canada. So why does this happen? Let's look at it. Like we've talked in other videos here in this channel, especially if you were not born and raised in Canada, you have an additional challenge to understand this aspect that I'm going to talk about, which is in Canada, the decision about buying, it's a multi-dimensional and multi-person decision. What that means is that they're not focusing on one aspect. Oh yeah, your value proposition is better. Yeah, the package is not as nice, user interface is not as nice. Oh, and they don't tick these other boxes, they're missing these things. But you know what? I like it so much, let's commit. And then, oh yeah, and they seem to be pretty trustworthy people. Let's go ahead and by the time we actually finish the purchasing, everything's gonna be fine. It's not how it happens. It's a multi-dimension, multi-people decision, and every piece has to be in place before they make a commitment, right? Let's remember, people are not necessarily being unreasonable here. All these requests that we may think are irrelevant, these requests have a reason that we don't understand yet, right? And we seem to have a lack of understanding about how decisions are made. We may think they're dragging their feet, we're just not talking to the right people, only if we talk to their boss, then everything is going to be fine, right? We forget that there are multiple decision influencers, multiple decision makers, or like, again, Canadians buy in a bit of a collaborative way where they, even if you're talking to the CEO, they will hear from their people, the technical, the financial, the marketing, the HR, because they want to make sure that they're not bringing on board something that's going to cause a lot of dissatisfaction, right? So we have multiple decision influencers, we have multiple decision factors, right? And these factors may have different weight from what they are from you. That's why you may be thinking, oh, they're focusing on things that are irrelevant. Well, they may be irrelevant for you, but there may be good reasons why they are very relevant for them. But if we're not curious, if we're not asking, we're not gonna know that. And we're gonna be in that arm wrestling, in that fight, and just get frustrated, not make the sale and being frustrated that these people here don't understand the value of what we're selling, right? So what does actually work then? What works? What works is very simple, right? Very simple. The first thing, curiosity, right? And understanding. So instead of, why are you not buying now? Maybe we can ask, what would have to be true for you to take the next steps, right? We remove the tension. We're not putting them on the spot. We're not kind of pressuring, but we're putting ourselves in a position of curiosity. It's like, what would, I'm just curious, like what would have to be true, right? Like what don't I have ready in front of you that you would need to be in place? And people are going to tell you. They're going to say, oh yeah, you would need this, or you're missing that, this, that. People are incredibly generous when you show curiosity. But then you need to be curious and you need to understand. Say, oh, okay, understand. As opposed to, oh, come on, but this doesn't make sense. This is not relevant. I mean, again, we're not trying to convince people they're wrong. We're trying to understand. We're trying to be curious and understand, right? And let's please take detailed notes. When we ask for somebody's feedback, let's make sure we are writing down to understand what it is. And then what we have to do, we have to really do our homework and do the necessary adjustments, get those to-do items that were not part of the list so that they can tick the boxes as they want, maybe do the change in a good enough packaging or user interface, because they're going to tell us when we ask what would have to be true for you to take the next steps, they're going to tell you what the minimum would be. Yeah, at least we need this. And then you'll be in a position to say, okay, I guess that I can do, right? And then you do your homework and you present back to them what you did in terms of your homework. Say, hey, listen, this is how we can deliver what you said is important to you. And then before asking them to commit and say, yeah, you're sure, you're ready to go ahead, because they may have still other things, we may ask, listen, do you have any other thing that would have to be true before we proceed? Because they start to run out of reasons, then you know you're getting close to having a sale, right? Because they say, oh yeah, but I forgot this thing, you need the other thing. Say, okay, then be curious again. Understand, do your homework and come back to them again and say, hey, those things, they're ready now. Like, do you need anything else? Are we ready to proceed? They say, oh yeah, I guess that's fine. You know what's happening during all this period? You are earning the trust by listening and adapting. You're listening and adapting and you're earning the trust. Contrast that with that situation where we were just fighting for what's important and trying to convince them that they were not being reasonable by asking things that are not relevant. It's different when we shift the conversation to a curiosity and understanding, and we put some effort to get closer to what they want. And guess what happens? In most of the cases, you don't even need to meet everything that was in their original list. They say, well, you know what? I guess we can live without this for now, but let's get started with this. Why? Because you earned their trust by listening and adapting. We are trying to build the trust here to close the sale, right? And telling people they're wrong is not a very effective way to build trust, right? Here are 2 other videos in this channel that are going to be helpful for you in this journey.